like with Adam and Eve in the garden, our enemy, the evil one, is hard at work convincing us of lies about God. He whispers to us in our defeats, in our delays, and our painful disappointments in life. Things like that if God really cared, he wouldn't have allowed me to hurt. He wouldn't have allowed me to lose. If he really loved me, he would have given me a different story. If he was really for me, he would rescue me out of this painful circumstance I'm in. And we buy into those lies every single time. We believe the lies about God that create even more pain, more anger, resentment, hopelessness, and despair for us. And as a result, we feel disconnected and separated from God. And it actually feels safer that way for us. Because who wants to love or trust a God who withholds from us, who doesn't come through for us, and who doesn't have our best interest at heart? Throughout my own painful disappointments in life, I had come to believe some very strong lies about God too. I believed that he was a ruthless judge, an absent father, that his love was conditional on my performance, that he had forgotten me, left me out, that he wasn't really for me. He had made me flawed. He didn't really care about me. And that felt mean and uncaring, like a sick joke. And not only was this my reality, but I've heard several very similar utterings from the hundreds of clients that I had counseled and coached over the years. They too thought, if God really loved me, he wouldn't have let my child be sick. If he really cared, he wouldn't have let my marriage fail. If God was for me, I would get that position, or I'd have that level of success that I want so badly. If God really loved me, he would make himself known to me, and I would be able to feel his love and hear his voice. Do you relate? The enemy knows exactly what he's doing, to using our disappointments and our delays and our defeats to create mistrust between us and our Creator. But know this truth, friends. God is not the author of pain and suffering. He doesn't create it, and he isn't leaving us there in it. Trust me, I believed that lie for many years, and as a result, I lived in bitterness and disappointment for way too long, and it was a struggle. The bottom line is this: the lies that we come to believe about God and our painful, disappointing life experiences create a filter for us, and it's from that filter that we view the world and all of our experiences. And these messages that we come to believe about God result in disconnection from him. And the love and the connection with him that we were supposed to have, that he created us for, are replaced by mistrust, disconnection, and fear, just like Adam and Eve. And those things create more isolation. And isolation breeds more fear and breeds even shame. And then our shame and our fear entice us and feed our various addictions as a way to cope with our pain. And when we feel disconnected from God's love and our trust in God's love and his trustworthiness is broken, we end up feeling alienated and alone. We believe that he doesn't care, so we aren't going to have what we need, and now it's up to us. And in that pain and mistrust that we feel, we begin to live like orphans, like survivors. We come to believe that we're not loved, that we can't trust others, and our needs are not going to get met. And our inability to trust results in our avoidance of vulnerability. So we stop sharing openly and honestly. And that leads to us to engage in self-protective behavior patterns like isolating, hiding, self-sufficiency, perfectionism, performance, and even addiction. The lies that we come to believe about ourselves and about God vary somewhat for every one of us. We all have different ones, but they're similar in theme in every case. John Eldredge, one of my favorite Christian authors and counselors, explains it even in more detail in his book called The Sacred Romance. He says at some point we face the same decision. What will we do with the arrows that we've known? Maybe a better way to say it is, what have the arrows that have pierced our heart tempted us to do? The arrows, the lies that we come to believe, come to us whether through a loss we experience as abandonment or some deep violation we feel as abuse. But no matter how they come to us, their message is always the same. They tell us to kill your heart, divorce it, neglect it, run from it, or indulge in some anesthetic for your pain. And you see, my own arrows penetrated my heart deeply, and the result was very painful. And my truth was that I was insignificant, inadequate, and unacceptable. And my only hope for God to love and bless me was if I performed. So I knew that I must shut down my heart and head down the path of performance as fast and as hard as I could. All of our paths are different, and our vices are so different too. But the most crucial truth for us to understand is this: disconnection from God and mistrust of Him is the greatest deceptive scheme the enemy has. And as long as we continue to fall for the lies that we've come to believe about God, that are whispered to us in the midst of our pain, our defeat, and our disappointment, we will continue to live a life of striving, struggling, settling, and surviving. And we will be robbed of the close personal intimacy we crave with God, and robbed of the life that He intended us to live. Friend, today, decide to stop the madness. Get honest with yourself and with God, your Father. What lies are you believing about Him that were born out of your painful, disappointing experiences? Stop and write them down. Confess them to Him. Do the inner work to heal your heart from those piercing arrows and clean your filter so that you can see the truth about who He really is, who you are in Him, and the beautiful story He's writing just for you.